This is Welch Concannon, and this is Welch's Thinking. But for today, this is The Dark. Yes, the Dark series where I have random things that come to mind that I quickly just want to record and kind of share with everybody. And it's very sporadic and random. And today is my thoughts on Stat Quo and his recent comments on the game and Kendrick. And so let's just start with this. He was on, I think it's the Third Verse podcast, it's called, with the company man. And they apparently talked at some point at length about, I guess, in short, that Kendrick ain't dissing you. Kendrick ain't writing ish about you. Stat kind of warned the game that he not to put out the recent mixtape that he put out. He had also said, he had asked apparently Kendrick that, are you talking about the game? And Kendrick is like, nah, or some shit like that. That's just a quick, and for me, I get it. Stat is an industry dude. He knows both parties. He is more close, I think, to the game. If you hear him speak, I think he was a kind of a manager of his a little bit or something like that. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. He also, he's in the industry for a long time, has worked with Eminem. Look, I'm not the biggest fan of Stat Quo. There's a lot of things that he says that I'm just like, I feel like some people, just because you've been in the industry for a long time, there's things you can take away from what they do and what they say, and there's lessons in that, right? But there's things that just because they've been there and been in the industry does not make them the end-all be-all. And there are people who have a tendency of, listening to a lot of these type of people, and it don't matter who they are. Whether you are a podcaster, you can be a politician, you can be a pastor, it doesn't matter. People have tendencies that as soon as they hear something, I'm not saying everyone, I'm not broad stroking, but they hear one party, they stick to that one party, and they stick to that instead of like, okay, I hear you, I'm listening to you, right? But let me do some further research. That's why I stress on the thinking, like, think for yourselves. Like, you hear one party, okay, hear the rest, hear the other sides. Stat, for me, has said a lot of things that has me like, I'm always pausing when it comes to him. And in this one, I'm like, here's my problem. I'm not even gonna go do any deep dive, Here is my problem with what he said and what he decided to tell everybody. First off, the game and Kendrick are artists. Point blank, they are artists. They are not going to tell you, even if they told you to your face, yeah, I wasn't talking about so and so. They say this stuff to interviewers. They'll say, Kendrick already has said before, once, a long time ago, that at one point he wasn't talking about Drake, and when we knew he was talking about Drake in many of the songs. Okay? So why in the world would you think an artist is going to sit there? If an artist doesn't even like telling regular folks what they're talking about half the time, And it doesn't matter who they are. You can, from rock to R&B to hip hop, it doesn't matter. They are artists. It is up for interpretation. And a lot of times, a person or persons will know who is, when they're being talked about. Okay? Let's put it that way. They will know. There are certain lyrics, certain words, keywords that are synonymous to the industry. Okay? And we keep hearing a lot of stuff as of late that's very synonymous to hip hop. You know, ballerinas, the Ferrari references. These are very, there's something to those references. Okay? So when I hear somebody like Stat who's, you know, saying, like, yeah, you know, Kendrick wasn't talking about Game, you know, because Kendrick said so. So what? He's an artist. He can paint whatever he wants to paint. But that doesn't necessarily mean the painter is going to tell you the truth on what he painted. He only did this or said what he said to appease you, to make you feel better. That does not mean that he didn't talk about the Game. Okay? Like, that is insane to me to think, first off, that he wouldn't be talking about Dot. This and the same goes for Game talking about the Game, and the same goes for Game not talking about the Dot. Talking about Dot. Sorry. And I feel like that is wild for anybody to think that neither one of them wouldn't be talking about each other. They were talking about each other. I will say this. I think they were, but that could be that's my interpretation. That's how I feel about it. But it does annoy me, you know, the whole, you know, just because he knows them, and I noticed he kept like kind of making that kind of, oh, I got this connection. I don't care. There's so many celebrities that know so many other celebrities, and then how many times have we seen those celebrities that know those other celebrities get egg in their face for shit that they've thought they knew this person, but then they really don't, because they done pulled the rug from under them, thinking that they know this person. Like, that's crazy. You don't know the operations of somebody's mind, and a person can lie straight to your face. And I don't blame. I'm not a fan of Game like that at all. But I don't blame Game for responding the way he did. I don't. I think there are things going on, down to, you know, this verses that happened that was supposed to kind of repair the image of Game. Like, why all of a sudden now, you know, Stat, even though there's been many references to the Game and Kendrick's music, Game done put out that mixtape a minute ago. Why was this talked about so recently now? Then we have this verses. Like, come on. I feel like it was all sort of this let's fix his image thing behind the scenes. I mean, Game didn't do a versus with a whole other different West Coast rapper. He did a versus with somebody he's cool with. Somebody he did a blood walk with. So that's why I feel like I find like this was more of a, like, why what are we doing? What are we doing here? This comes off a little bit. Let's polish him up a little bit. And then look what the man did anyway in the end. You know, down in Patron or whatever, and being a sloppy mess in the end of it all. So it didn't even work. It didn't work. Whatever Stat was trying to do, whatever it was, it didn't work. You know, he ended up disappointing a whole lot of people. And then some people were not disappointed at all. They kind of expected it. So yeah, I just wanted to quickly talk about that because I felt like it was a little bit weird. Maybe not so weird to have, or anybody saying, oh yeah, I know the operations of an artist's mind. You know, just because I know them and that they looked me in my face and told me I wasn't dissing. Artists are artists. That's it. Like they whatever they paint, whatever they create, whatever they write, whatever they do, that is their business. They're not going to 100% tell you what their intentions are, what their whole thing is. It's just not, because there's always going to be that air of mystery. It's just like that's how it is. And it's in a need to know basis, and it's such a tight circle. And sometimes listen, people just don't know. And the only person who's ever going to know is that artist and who they're talking about and what they're talking about. Down to even a producer who's creating a beat, creating a piece of art, a piece of music. What was your intention on the type of hi-hats or the type of bass or the type of drum or loops or whatever the hell that you used? Some may know how to answer it or want to answer it truthfully. Some may not even know where the hell their mind was at, because they create things in such a rap and in such quickness, or maybe they just love, some people just love fucking with you. Come up with some bullshit like backstory that's not even anywhere close to the truth. It's just, I'm just saying this so that you have something that would make you feel better. But I'm keeping a certain air about me, But yeah, I definitely had to talk about that. But let me know what you guys think. Do you really believe Stat Quo when he says that he spoke with Kendrick? He probably did. Who am I to say he's lying on that? Do you believe if say he did speak with Kendrick, did Kendrick tell the truth? And what do you think? How do you feel about it? Do you think that Kendrick was dissing Game at any point of his career? And vice versa to Game. I mean, it's clear that Game did because he mentioned the man. Personally, I think it happened on both sides. I think there's more coming. I think there's some things coming. I think there was a tamping down for a reason because of whatever the affiliations are. I think that's why there's this squelching going down, and as well too. I think that's what's going on. But hey, what do I know, right? But comment down below, like, subscribe, share. That's what I was just thinking. This is the Dark series, and stay cool out there, y'all. Talk to y'all soon.